One wrong person in your life can cost you years, money, and peace of mind. That might sound dramatic, but think about it. How many stories have you heard about people who trusted the wrong partner, the wrong friend, or the wrong business opportunity, only to lose everything? The truth is, most of the time the signs were there. The red flags were waving in the wind like giant warning banners, but we ignored them. Why? Because emotions make us blind. Love makes us hopeful. Loneliness makes us desperate. And sometimes we just don't want to admit that we made a mistake. Here's the hard part. Life doesn't care about your excuses. If you ignore the signals, you pay the price. That's why one of the most underrated survival skills in the 21st century isn't coding, isn't investing, and isn't learning 10 languages. It's this: the ability to read people. This isn't about being paranoid or looking for betrayal around every corner. It's about developing the awareness to see who someone really is, beyond the words, beyond the masks, beyond the first impression. Because if you don't, one day you'll wake up and realize you've been building your future with the wrong person. And trust me, that's a nightmare you don't want to live through.
Recently, one of my friends announced that he's getting married. Now, normally that would be a reason to celebrate, right? But here's the thing. He's been with his girlfriend for just over a year. And already before the wedding, she's been hitting him with a list of demands that sound more like a luxury shopping list than a relationship. The newest iPhone, the newest iPad, expensive gifts, and more. Honestly, if Apple ever needs a brand ambassador, she's already qualified. But here's where it got worse. My wife went over to study with him one day, like they usually do. The girlfriend showed up, looked at my wife, and basically said, "What the hell are you doing here? Get out." No discussion, no respect, just straight up disrespect. That was the moment I realized the first warning sign wasn't the attitude, it was the demands. Because here's the truth. When someone treats you like an ATM before they even become your spouse, what do you think marriage will look like? Spoiler, it won't magically get better. And this is where I couldn't help but compare it to my own story. When I got married, I'd known my wife for 6 years. We dated for 4, and we've been married for 2 years now. Sure, no relationship is perfect, but the foundation was built on time, trust, and mutual respect. Not iPhones, not ultimatums. The difference is night and day. And it made me think, how many people ignore the red flags because they don't want to face the truth?
Here's the strange part. Most of the time, people see the red flags. They notice the controlling behavior, the unreasonable demands, the lack of respect. But instead of reacting, they bury those feelings under the hope that things will change. Psychologically, this comes from something called cognitive dissonance. Your brain doesn't like contradictions. On the one hand, you see the warning signs. On the other, you've already invested time, emotions, and maybe even money into this relationship. Walking away would mean admitting that you made a mistake. And for many people, that's more painful than staying in a bad situation. And let's be honest, society doesn't make it easier. Movies, TV shows, even Instagram all sell this idea that true love conquers all. So when problems show up, people think, maybe this is just part of the journey. Maybe I just need to try harder. But here's the harsh truth. Red flags are not challenges you need to overcome. They are warnings. They're like the check engine light in your car. Ignore it long enough, and you'll find yourself broken down on the side of the road. And the worst part? The longer you stay, the more those red flags start to feel normal. That's when people lose themselves, when disrespect becomes routine, when manipulation feels like love, and when a relationship becomes a slow form of self-destruction. So why do people ignore red flags? Because hope feels safer than reality. But hope can also be the trap that keeps you stuck.
Now, let's get practical. How do you actually learn to read people? How do you sharpen that radar so you can pick up on the subtle cues before things get out of hand? Firstly, pay attention to consistency. Anyone can say nice things, but do their actions line up? A person who talks about respect but disrespects your boundaries is telling you everything you need to know. Actions are the real language. Secondly, listen to how they treat others. They may be the center of your world today, but watch how they treat waiters, their parents, or even strangers, because eventually, that's how they'll treat you too. Then there's the test of conflict. People can fake kindness when everything is going their way, but how do they act when they're angry? Do they stay respectful, or do they cross the line? Anger has a way of revealing someone's true character. Another powerful trick is to trust your gut. We often dismiss that little voice inside because we can't explain it logically, but your subconscious picks up on tiny details that your conscious mind ignores. If something feels off, it usually is. Finally, look for patterns, not excuses. One lie might be forgiven, one rude comment might be overlooked, but if those things keep happening, it's no longer a mistake, it's who they are. Learning to read people is not about becoming paranoid. It's about being observant, present, and grounded enough to see what's really in front of you. And trust me, the earlier you notice, the easier it is to walk away before you're too deep in.
Here's the painful truth. Most of us don't miss the red flags. We see them. We feel them. We even talk about them with friends. Yet we stay. Why? Firstly, it's because of hope. We convince ourselves that it's just a phase or they'll change. The brain clings to the good moments and uses them to justify the bad ones. Hope can be beautiful, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a trap. Secondly, there's fear of being alone. Loneliness can feel heavier than toxicity. We'd rather hold on to something that hurts than face the silence of being single. It's the emotional version of choosing a bad meal over no meal at all. Then comes sunk cost. If you've invested months or years into someone, your mind says, I can't throw this away now. But the reality is, if you're drowning, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the water. You still need to swim up or you'll sink. Another reason is social pressure. What will people say if I leave? Everyone thinks we're perfect together. Sometimes we stay not for love, but for appearances. And that's the fastest way to live someone else's life instead of your own. And finally, low self-worth plays a role. If you don't believe you deserve better, you'll accept whatever treatment comes your way. Toxic people thrive on that insecurity because the weaker you feel, the stronger their control becomes. The truth is, staying doesn't protect you. It only delays the inevitable. And every day you stay, the cost gets higher, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even financially.
Now here's the good news. Reading people isn't some mystical superpower reserved for FBI profilers or poker champions. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained. First, observe actions over words. People lie with their mouths, but rarely with their patterns. If someone says, I'll change, but 6 months later you're still crying over the same issue, believe their behavior, not their promises. Second, pay attention to consistency. Anyone can be charming for a week, even for a month, but consistency is the real test. Do their actions match their words over time? Because if the mask slips once, it'll slip again. Third, watch how they treat others. A person who's rude to waiters, dismissive to their parents, or condescending to strangers will eventually treat you the same way. Don't think you're the exception, you're just next in line. Then comes emotional control. Notice how they react under stress. Do they explode? Do they manipulate? Or do they handle conflict with respect? Pressure reveals character more than love does. Finally, trust your gut. Your intuition is a survival tool built on millions of years of evolution. If something feels off, it usually is. The problem is, we often silence that voice because we want the story to be different. But ignoring intuition is like turning off a smoke detector because you don't want to deal with the fire. Learning to read people doesn't make you cynical, it makes you prepared. Because the goal isn't to distrust everyone, but to protect yourself from the ones who smile at you with one hand while holding a knife in the other.
One of the hardest truths to accept is this. Sometimes the healthiest move you can make is to walk away. We don't like hearing it because walking away feels like failure. But in reality, it's often the opposite. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. Firstly, know the red lines. If you constantly feel drained, disrespected, or unsafe, that's not a relationship. That's a slow form of self-destruction. Staying there doesn't make you loyal, it makes you stuck. Secondly, realize that walking away is not running away. Running away, it means escaping without learning anything. Walking away, it means you've recognized the lesson and decided you deserve better. Big difference. Third, prepare yourself emotionally. Leaving doesn't mean you won't feel pain. You will. But here's the thing. Pain with an ending is still better than pain without an end. Healing begins only after you've closed the door. Fourth, create a support system. Talk to a trusted friend, a family member, or even a professional if you can. Walking away alone feels like jumping into the void. Walking away with support feels like stepping onto solid ground. And finally, remember this. You are not responsible for fixing everyone. You can care, you can help, but you can't rebuild someone who refuses to pick up the hammer themselves. Walking away doesn't make you cold-hearted. It makes you wise enough to protect the life you're still building. At the end of the day, walking away isn't about them, it's about you. It's about valuing your peace more than their chaos.
If there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. Reading people is not a luxury, it's survival. The sooner you learn to trust your gut and notice the patterns, the less likely you'll wake up one day realizing you've been living someone else's lie. Life is too short to waste on people who drain you, disrespect you, or disguise control as love. Don't confuse drama for passion, and don't let loneliness push you into the arms of the wrong person. Remember, walking away doesn't mean you lost. It means you chose yourself. And if you're watching this and thinking, okay, but my situation is complicated, I don't even know what to do next, that's where I can help. I've started offering personal consultations for those of you who need advice tailored to your unique story. If you want to talk through your case in detail, just send me an email. The address is in the video description. I'll be happy to read your message and help you find clarity. At the end of the day, remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Protect your peace, protect your heart, and most importantly, protect your future. Thank you for watching. If this video gave you value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. And if you're still here, maybe it's a sign that you're ready to stop ignoring the red flags and start building a healthier life. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one.